all gathered here today to talk about Google Ads from the perspective of especially a CMO from a B2B company. So we have tried to put together some key points that should hopefully be as valuable as possible to people like this. First off, a little bit of background about Holini as well. On the slide, you can see some of the clients we work with. This is a short little example. We're an agency specializing in Google Ads and analytics for B2B tech and SaaS companies. And we're also very proud that, considering our small size, we are a premier partner of Google. And just this year, we reached the final stage of Premier Partner Awards as well, which we were apparently the first in the region in the category of international growth. So we're small, but attempting to be mighty and trying our best. A few disclaimers as well. The session is recorded so that we could provide you with the recording afterwards. Hopefully no one minds. You will also receive the slides later on, so you do not need to take hundreds of screenshots. Also, a little disclaimer that we will be covering only a few main points today that we have seen as most common issues during the audits that we have done for numerous B2B accounts. So the structure and content of today's workshop is built based on most common but also most impactful findings that hopefully, with a few easy checks and not too much effort, can help you guys also assess the situation of your account, the potential for improvement, and just start some conversations with your account manager, be that someone in-house or an external partner that you are working with. Also, something to note, there is always an exception to every single rule. So anything that I cover today, if we were to go specifically into the details of your account and really dig deep in the theory behind our, let's say, principles that we cover here, surely we could find some exceptions. But in the name of saving time, we will be covering kind of the most common perspective that we have seen useful. So just keep this in mind. And if some aspect in your context seems to be a little bit off, then we of course welcome you to any further discussions, be that with your account manager or with us as well. So let's go. Let's get started. I'm Liis, been in Holini for 6 years now, very unmillennial of me, had various roles, being an account manager, auditing accounts, and doing other general stuff for the agency as well. So right now, at this moment today, I am fully focused on this this workshop here, and that is my main role for an hour-ish. It's also optional. You guys can open your Google Ads account and try to follow along and do these checks as we go through the workshop, but the pace is rather fast in order to give you as much as possible within the short time that we have today. So considering you will be getting the slides and the recording, perhaps it would be easier to kind of consume the content and the ideas here, focus on that, and then later on go and do the checks. But if you want to follow along, depending on how comfortable you feel in Google Ads, you certainly can. So what is it that we will be covering today? The overarching focus on every point that I have included in here today is cost efficiency. When we do internal audits or audits during the sales process or onboarding a new client, there are approximately 200 points that we check or cover in that audit. Today we are nowhere near covering and discussing all of them. As said, I have chosen the most impactful ones that should also be relatively easy for you guys to at least check and then start further discussions on. So first kind of section is, of course, around conversion tracking, the data that you are gathering and optimizing towards. Secondly, we'll be looking at some thoughts on bidding, some thoughts on structure, and then at the end, there's this kind of, I don't know, we can call them speed checks or just quick checks from random categories that you can do that we have also found to be quite like common issues in accounts. So worth going over. But as said, obviously there is way more things to check, but fitting as much as we can into today's hour. So without further ado, let's get started straight into the first topic of conversion tracking. So the first question, if you are kind of going in and doing this overview, quick audit type of thing that you should be able to do after today's workshop, first question to ask, do you have full funnel conversion tracking implemented in your account? We have very commonly seen that this has not been the case. And the funnel that we usually see set up in the account can look something like this. So just taking a example of a B2B company, what a funnel might look like. Every business's funnel details are, of course, slightly different. So essentially, we have seen that what is tracked are the activities that are happening on page, so on the website. For example, people viewing a specific page that you have deemed to be relevant-ish, an extra signal about the user quality in addition to just being a session or just clicking on an ad. So already showing interest in your services or pricing, for example. Then starting a registration, maybe getting a verification email sent, and then the sign up, which is usually considered or like a free trial started demo request, something like that, is usually kind of the main goal that we have seen set up in Google Ads account. However, if that is where you are stopping, so you're stopping your measurement with all the on-page actions only, on-page funnel stages only, then you are surely missing out on some potential cost efficiency improvements. So if you have implemented full funnel tracking with the help of offline conversion tracking, so sending back data from your CRM into your Google Ads or any other advertising platform, you would be able to then also see information about leads, marketing qualified leads, maybe sales qualified leads, and then the won deals, so essentially your actual paying customers. So in the ideal world, of course, we would want to only focus on the actual paying customers and optimize towards them and analyze which marketing channel, which campaign in those channels has brought that actual paying customer that we are after. Now, we will discuss a little bit later what to do if you are not living in this ideal scenario, how to help a little bit. So why it is important, I have just taken a random indexed to 100 example of what the completion numbers might be for these different stages. So let's say we have 100 pricing page views, and out of those pricing page views, we are able to receive one paying customer. That is already quite a good deal, I'd say, but again, varies for every business, just an example. So if we would stop our measurement here, then 90% of the signups that we optimize towards, that all of our algorithms learn towards and make decisions on, are actually kind of bad data or not quality customers, not quality users, because only one of them ends up actually contributing towards our actual business revenue. So if we were to optimize everything towards signups, Google Ads algorithms will do the majority, 90% of their learning in this example, 90% of their learning based on not good quality data. And this becomes an issue, especially over time, because more and more will the algorithms make decisions based on bad data. And it is often the case that it is easier to bring those not final converting one deal customers. So more and more will the smart bidding kind of bring you those bad leads, and your actual end business results might be declining due to this. So key takeaway from here: do you have offline conversion tracking set up? If not, go do it. It does require a little bit of technical expertise and knowledge, but there are plenty people out there who specialize in this, and I'm sure everyone is capable of finding a partner to help them. Now, one thing I would say here, and I always say during any discussions I have with anyone about this topic, yes, this is something that requires an investment to be made. So you have to likely pay someone to do the setup or allocate in-house developers time, which again also obviously costs. But the benefits and the cost savings that you will get from this will far outweigh the initial investment of doing the setup. So definitely strong recommendation to look into this and work on it. You will thank me later, hopefully. Okay, next topic under the kind of conversion tracking section here is, are your primary conversion actions relevant? Now, what I mean by primary conversion actions is the conversion actions that Google Ads campaigns are optimizing towards, that they are working to bring you. Now, an easy check you can do to see what's going on there in terms of what conversions are being optimized towards is going in your account. Again, you will be getting the slides, so you can easily follow along with these screenshots later. In the campaign level, open up a segment here and add the conversion action segment to the campaign table. And what you will be able to see is on every campaign level and at the bottom on the account level as well, what conversion actions have been brought. Find your conversion column and you will see exactly which conversions make up your, or which actions make up your Google Ads conversions. So an issue here from an audited account that we saw was these campaigns were working with maximize conversions bidding. So what was happening? There was no signal given to Google which conversion action was more valuable to the business. Obviously, a sign-up is way more valuable than a quality session, which in this case was defined by a session that's above 30 seconds or that had at least 75% of scroll depth. But in Google's eyes, these were equal. So Google was simply bringing whatever it could. And of course, these session-related conversions were easier to bring. So the volumes were very, very heavily skewed towards them. So just open up this view, see what's going on. Are you happy with what you see there? Does it make sense? And are the CPAs, what you're paying for each conversion, are they satisfactory if you take into account these maybe micro conversions that may be present there as well? So ideally, you should be optimizing towards a confirmed paying customer, but if that is not possible due to scarce data, which is often the case in B2B SaaS, B2B tech accounts, consider optimizing, or you should be optimizing towards the closest funnel step. So be that maybe marketing qualified lead, for example, but also considering volumes, that you would have enough volumes of them. Google has had different recommendations every now and again, and they have stated that you can even start with zero volumes at all. But something that we kind of try to stick to is, are there at least 30 conversions in a month coming in? If yes, then you could already be working with that specific conversion action. If not, if it's only 5 conversions per month, perhaps you need to switch up to a higher funnel stage or use a combination there. We'll shortly discuss that later as well. Also, something to consider when choosing which conversion action to optimize towards is conversion lag. technically the limitation is 90 days. The recommendation is maximum of 21 days. Just from a human perspective as well, thinking how well can you make decisions based on data if the final data comes in 21 days later? So any optimizations are happening with such a long lag already. So the shorter the conversion lag for the chosen conversion action, the better, of course. Now, what to kind of take from here and the previous screenshot I shared as well of a specific issue is to not equalize conversion actions that have significantly different value to the business. So if you are saying to Google, I am interested in maximizing conversions, nothing else is set up or no other signals are given, and you have added very different value conversions to the mix, then most often more often than not, we see that the easiest to bring, also highest up in the funnel conversion action will be optimized towards. But often that might end up again bringing you a large portion of those bad quality leads or users really, and your actual end business goals will not be doing too well, let's say. So next thing to take a quick look at is, are you using value-based bidding? And if yes, how are you using it? So value-based bidding, what I mean here is using the maximize conversion value or maximize conversion value with an added return on ad spend target. So here, when would it make sense to use value-based bidding? For example, if you have different like products with different prices, in this case, if you want to differentiate between how much you want to invest per bringing different value products. So if you have a very high priced product, you are willing to invest more to get those purchases. If you have some very on the cheaper end products, you do not want to invest too much. So you can differentiate the conversions values by sending back the actual transaction value or the contract value to Google Ads as well. What we often see is the issue of scarce data, as mentioned before, and then a value-based bidding is also something that can help. So let's say, for example, looking again at the same funnel, let's say the one deals that are worth 1,000 euros for you, you don't have too many of them, not enough to optimize towards them or them only in Google Ads. So what you can do is assign values to the higher levels as well, the funnel stages. So for example, oops, wrong arrow. So for example, your sales qualified lead could be worth 500 euros and your marketing qualified lead could be worth 250 euros. So essentially it would be also utilizing those micro conversions or higher funnel stages, adding values to them to enrich the existing data if you have too little of the final end goal data. Those values cannot, of course, be assigned randomly. One way to do it is assigning the weights based on conversion rates between stages in the funnel. So in our previous example, for every 2 sales qualified leads, we were able to close 1 deal. So the conversion rate was 50%. So the value of the sales qualified lead should be, in this case, 500 euros. And again, the conversion rate between marketing qualified lead and sales qualified lead in our example was 50%. So again, the value should reflect this. So the weights of the values, the ratios, the proportions should be assigned based on conversion rates. And Google has a helpful conversion value calculator tool as well that you can check out later. Essentially, it's just steps. You input your steps, you input your end value, your conversion rates, and it will give you the values to use. There's other more let's say intricate ways to work with those values, which I'm actually considering doing a full separate workshop or webinar on. We'll see, because it's a topic that can definitely be discussed for at least an hour easily. But the main goal for today is for you to be able to do these quick checks and kind of start the thought process of how to potentially improve your cost efficiencies. So the main gain from obviously utilizing this offline conversion tracking funnel and assigning these values, having more data, algorithms can make better decisions based on more data. If you have those values assigned correctly, then you can use smart bidding to still work towards bringing you the highest value funnel stage, conversion action completions. And if you have kind of taught the algorithm already enough, and let's say you have enough sales qualified leads that you no longer really need the marketing qualified leads, then it would make sense to kind of remove the marketing qualified lead from being optimized towards. And then finally, hopefully, you will have enough won deals that you can only optimize towards these. Okay, kind of covered sections of bidding already, but moving on to the bidding section on its own, and a few thoughts that we have there. So first question, probably the answer is yes for the majority of accounts, but we still see accounts with manual bidding or not utilizing the benefits of smart bidding. So that means using maximized conversions or maximized conversion value bid strategies with added target CPA or target ROAS optionally. Don't necessarily need to have those. So you are very likely overspending if you are not optimizing to as close to paying customers as possible, and if you are not using smart bidding and making sure that Google has the signals about your business goals and it can work towards them. If you are working towards maximizing clicks, then that is what Google will bring you. It will bring you clicks. And if we kind of oversimplify a little bit, then chances are that your competitors are using smart bidding. They are working towards capturing those good converters from the market. And if your signal to Google is, I'm happy with clicks, what can happen is that you will end up with kind of leftovers and largely the non-converting or lower quality traffic. So one way to quickly have a check what bid strategies are happening in your account is going to campaign settings table view, making sure you have all campaigns chosen, and you can see which bid strategy types are used in which campaigns. Much longer discussions can follow from this, but that's the kind of first initial check that you can make quickly. So if you have seen what's going on there, what bid strategies you're working with, you can start asking the more specific question of, does the strategy choice and do the targets that have been set reflect business goals? And one thing to also kind of keep in mind here is if you have set there I have it. You can look at what the goals are if you open up each campaign from the settings, or again from the campaign view, adding these two columns to the table, and you can see what your targets are, or if you have target ROAS, then of course the target ROAS column as well. One thing to keep in mind is that it is possible to add different targets on ad group level as well. So from the account where the screenshot is taken, actually upon opening the campaign, I could see that the ad groups had, again, like different targets. So just having a quick check, making sure, does this make sense? Are these levels profitable? Should you even be working with target CPA if your main goal is more related to revenue and conversion values? Perhaps target ROAS would be a better option. Just a good starting point there for ongoing discussions. So once you have seen what's going on in terms of which bid strategies have been chosen so far, a question you should ask is, are you using portfolio bid strategies? So this is essentially still having different campaigns if needed for different settings, for example, but consolidating the bidding across selected campaigns. So usually it doesn't make sense to consolidate it all across the campaign so that you have one portfolio bid strategy for all campaigns, because of course brand campaigns should be definitely kept separate. But usually it's quite common that the generic keywords campaigns can operate optimally under one portfolio bid strategy. So the main goal or the potential that lies in portfolio bid strategies is the opportunity to increase efficiency by consolidating. And I'll kind of give you an example, visual example as well in a second. So let's say that we're looking at two campaigns in the account. One has competitor keywords, one has general keywords. We have determined that the kind of necessary profitability, the necessary target CPA is 17 euros in order for the business to kind of remain profitable. So we have set the target on each campaign's level separately. Now, working with a target CPA means that you will have some conversions that will cost you 15 euros to capture, some conversions that will cost even less, will be super cheap, and some conversions that will cost you even more. And Google will capture all of them so long as it keeps the average goal of 17 euros. Now, there will also be conversions that are even more expensive that will not be captured because otherwise this goal of 17 would no longer be met. Now, the kind of problem that we can see on this example here is the fact that even though our goal is 17 euros for both of campaigns, in one campaign, so in the competitor campaign, we are not able to capture 40 euro conversions nor 50 euro conversions because that would kind of burst our average and we would go over 17. But in the other general campaign, we are capturing 40 euro conversions and even the ones that cost us 50 euros. So the potential that lies here by consolidating, using a portfolio bid strategy across these campaigns without changing anything else about the campaigns, they can remain separate, no changes in ad copy, any other targeting, anything, only consolidating bidding and keeping the same goal of 17. The 40 euro conversion that previously wasn't captured from this site will be captured, and the 50 euro conversion from this site will be kind of left out. So essentially what happens is for the same budget, you are able to get more conversions. Or alternatively, you can kind of keep the same results and lower your budget. So cost efficiency either way. If the goal of 17 euros is what really is profitable for you, then in most cases doesn't really make sense to cut budgets, rather increase them if possible. So yeah, portfolio bid strategies. Go and see if they are present in your account. If not, then definitely start these discussions to see where consolidation could potentially happen. Also, another kind of little slightly hidden benefit of portfolio bid strategies is the opportunity to use maximum bid limits. Now, example, or where you can find them. You can find them if you go find your bid strategy under your campaign settings or from the tools and settings in the account and go to bid strategies. You will see a list of your portfolio bid strategies there. Open one up and by scrolling down under the settings, there's this quite hidden advanced options button. And by clicking on that, you open up the opportunity to set a maximum bid limit. So something to keep in mind here, the bid limit has to be realistic. We cannot simply say to Google, like, yes, I want to get as much quality traffic as I can and only pay, let's say, 20 cents for each click. In that case, you will simply be limiting your volumes heavily, if not totally killing them. So you have to be realistic about setting these limits. And one example how you can approach finding an optimum limit or checking if you have a limit present in your account, a way to check if it is set optimally is, I'll go to this one first. So is this example calculation framework. So let's say our target CPA is 100 euros. Our conversion rate is 10%. And we believe that, okay, Google can maybe predict the conversion rate of 20%, perhaps for some users, if it has a lot of signals that, okay, this user is really, really likely to convert. I need to bid higher to be able to capture that person. But in order to still stay within the CPA targets optimally, in this case, the maximum bid limit of 20 euros would make sense. If you believe that Google can predict the conversion rate of 30% with 30% accuracy, 30 euros would be your maximum bid limit, over which Google then cannot bid. So one interesting check that you can do in your account is going to all campaigns level, so account level, and opening up the search terms report, which you find here. You can add a filter or simply order the table by average CPC from highest to lowest, and you can see how much you historically have paid for clicks on average again. So if there's, for example, 3 clicks for this search term, some of them you may have even paid more for, and for some a little bit less. But you can get an indication of the very bold testings that Google sometimes does. And might consider if you maybe want to limit these very bold testings. And if I added this filter here to show me in how many cases average CPC of over 20 euros was happened, I can see that my spend here has been 4,600 euros over the chosen time frame. And this is considering only the search terms that are displayed. So Google always hides a portion of search terms, and we cannot know what the average CPC was for them. So it might even be slightly worse than what we see here. Okay, moving on. Next thing, are you limited by budget? And this is not a question to a CMO. Every CMO usually has a specific budget. I mean this from the Google Ads perspective and checking your campaign level data again. So what we are looking at is the metric search lost impression share by budget. And how to check this, how to find this, is again going to your campaign level report chart. Usually makes sense to look at last 7 days or perhaps even shorter, not too long periods. Otherwise, the averages will skew the actual recent data too much. And add the column of search lost impression share by budget, and that is what you see here. So there is a whole long theory behind this that our Google Ads engineering brain, Andres, figured out or thought through or came up with. But the takeaway here, or the potential that lies here, is again cost savings if you see search lost impression share by budget in your account in some campaigns. This is relevant for manual CPC, target CPA, or target ROAS bid strategies, because maximize conversions and maximize conversion value bid strategies are expected to be limited by budget. Then again, that's also, again, a question. Perhaps you can switch away from those and add a target CPA or target ROAS, because then you can utilize this cost-saving opportunity that lies there. So if you see that you are limited by budget, you have 2 options. So one is to raise budgets. If you have set a target CPA or target ROAS that is profitable for your business and you are limited by budget, why not scale that profitability level and receive more conversions and or value that is profitable for your business. If it is not possible to raise budgets, that is maybe too black and white view of the world, just saying raise budgets, there's another option where the cost efficiency gains come in. So what you can do is make targets tighter for Google. So that is lowering your target CPA or increasing your target ROAS, and using those targets as levers to get more conversions or value for the same budget. So that is what happens. Obviously, you shouldn't make those changes, lowering your target CPA or raising your target ROAS, very dramatically. So we usually approach this with like 10% increments and then see what happens, and then again changing. But yeah, skipping the whole long theory discussion that we unfortunately don't have time for today, what will happen is you are actually able to get more for the same budget. Okay, so takeaway, go and check your search lost impression share column. If you find something there, potential for improvements. We usually consider like 0 to 5% being okay, because there are always fluctuations happening in the auctions, and it is tricky to reach the absolute optimal state with simply 0% there, but 0 to 5 is okay. Anything above 5 also already worth looking at. So moving on to structure topic section ideas. Do you have an optimal structure for automated bidding and RSAs? So quite several years ago, manual operating of Google Ads was all the rage, and that required quite a granular structure, separating everything, working with every little detail manually. But with the switch towards automation in bidding and creative, so working with responsive search ads, for example, the kind of new approach to consider is making sure there is sufficient data for algorithms to make decisions and learn. And they make decisions on the different structural levels of the account. So if you can consolidate as much as possible to keep data together in one place as much as possible where it makes sense. Again, obviously keeping like brand campaigns separate and all that, but otherwise you can maybe even only have, let's say, 3 campaigns in your account if you're a B2B SaaS business. So you have a brand campaign, you have competitor keywords campaign, maybe separately, maybe even not necessarily, and you have a generic keywords campaign added as well. And you can work with multiple ad groups in there. So often the case or the first objection is, but I need to have different landing pages, so I need different ad groups. Not necessarily. If the kind of theme of the ad group is the same, you can use landing pages on keyword level. So you have it all in one ad group, different landing pages there. You can use ad customizers and dynamic keyword insertion as well to customize your ad copy for every specific auction, so that it stays most relevant without having to kind of make the account structure more granular. So ad customizers are, if you start writing ad copy and you use the curly brackets, more information can be found there. You can insert keywords into the ad copy to make the kind of ad relevance higher. You can work with timers, different locations, and custom ones as well if you insert a feed. So definitely I recommend looking into it, because what we see is B2B businesses very often struggle with having too little data. So then what we need to do is consolidate as much possible so that the little data that we do have is kept together as much as possible for the algorithms to make optimal decisions better, because obviously the machine learning happens based on previous data. So ad customizer examples as well from a feed. You enter different things that you want to customize in your ad copy, and then by using the curly brackets in your ad copy, in your headlines and descriptions, depending on what the person searches for, different like elements will be triggered. Different content of each element will be triggered, and you can have very customed ad copy for each keyword and search. Okay, and something else to consider, because in most cases, I dare say it would be too much dilution to have multiple responsive search ads per one ad group. You already can have up to 15 headlines and 4 descriptions in an RSA, and those then are combined in multiple ways. So the number of combinations that can happen from those assets is already huge. if you create multiple RSAs, the number of combinations simply becomes too large for any adequate learning to happen, because there is like data is so diluted across those different assets and combinations. So usually in most cases, unless you're working with very large amounts of data, having more than one RSA isn't really recommended in one ad group. Now, again, if you are working with little data, as many businesses are, you should consider pinning assets, at least at the start, being intentional about it, and some things to kind of check or keep in mind regarding pinning are the fact that you can pin multiple assets, multiple headlines to one position. So this means that you are still allowing Google to alternate, to test variations, but you are giving it some limits, and the number of combinations isn't anymore that large. Plus, you also have some creative control about the actual combinations that are being shown. So in this example, there's 4 headlines pinned to the first position that then each time one of these 4 will be shown in the first position, and there's 4 pinned to the second position as well. So an example pinning framework that we often use at the start is inserting 9 headlines, not even more, because we don't have that much data to work with that many variations. 9 headlines, pinning 3 to the first position, 3 to the second one, and 3 to the third. So then we kind of have control as well about which combinations are shown, and can minimize the make the number of different combinations smaller. And as we start getting enough data or more data into our ad group level, we can start unpinning. So for example, we can unpin the third position headlines, maybe add a few more to the mix at some point, unpin the second position, and ultimately perhaps also unpin the first position. So then Google already has quite a bit of data about the combinations that we initially allowed it to make, and then it can additionally start testing some new ones with already having data about some combinations. So there's various data I even found from Google's own sources about the kind of level of volumes that are required for adequate learnings. One example of those varying inputs is that there should be at least 3,000 impressions in 7 days on an ad group level for RSAs to learn. So that's quite significant volumes, considering some B2B businesses that are operating in quite narrow niches. So if you do not have that, work with pinning, work with the number of assets that you provide, and try to kind of guide the learning process a little bit yourself manually with your human brain. Okay, so now moving on to the kind of quick checks from random categories before we wrap it up. Are irrelevant search terms wasting budgets? So a huge part of Google Ads account management, ongoing optimizations, is reviewing search terms. It is one of the more mundane tasks, but it has to be done. And when it is done, it definitely helps with cost efficiency and saving costs. So where to find your search terms to get an initial look at what's going on. For the start, you might even want to include all of your account search terms. Find them in the search terms button or under the link here, and you'll see what's been going on. We usually, in order to get an initial assessment, order them by cost, because obviously where the higher cost happens, that's where the highest impact is. And you can also add additional filters to kind of analyze the report a little bit better, get some more insights. So by adding filters, one of them, for example, could be that you only look at the search terms that have not yet been either added or excluded. So kind of like new ones that you maybe haven't reviewed yet or made a decision on. And also you can add a filter of looking at search terms that have a relatively low click-through rate. The number you choose here, up to you. Just an example, you can look at multiple ones as well, because a very low click-through rate obviously signifies that users don't really deem your ad to be very relevant to their search. So then you can consider, should some relevance be improved, or should the search term be excluded because it's not relevant. So here are a few examples of the kind of checks you can quickly do. Also, you can look at the highest spending campaign. Again, where the highest cost is, that's usually where the highest impact is. Look at search terms in the last 30 days, order them by cost, see what's going on. Or use the filter I just showed you on the screenshot with the click-through rate. Also sometimes worth looking at broad match keywords. You can even only look at one keyword's search terms if you'd like, because broad match is slightly riskier, and especially at the start of the account, it should have an eye kept on it. So checking what's going on there, what's triggering your ads and spending your budget. Are negative keywords used properly? Next thing that we often see kind of a little bit neglected in the accounts. So questions you can ask are negative keyword lists used? So you can check that quickly by navigating under tools and settings, finding negative keyword lists, and then seeing what's going on there. So for example, do you have all relevant general, let's say, non-transactional keywords excluded? So if people search for your brand name plus jobs, or if they want to know who's the CEO of the company or the CMO, or find the LinkedIn page or whatever, those are usually not valuable to you from the Google Ads perspective, and you don't really want those people clicking on your ads and wasting your budget. So all of these kind of terms should perhaps live in a negative keyword list to ensure that any campaigns that are created in the future as well, you can easily add the list, make sure that those terms are excluded from that as well. You could have, for example, brand keywords excluded from non-brand campaigns, or not. For example, you should, because otherwise brand results will be kind of skewing the general non-brand campaigns results and kind of make them look better than they really are. So brand and non-brand usually is quite good to keep fully separate. One way to do this is with negative keyword lists. And also going through all of the negative keywords present in the account. Accounts often have quite long history, have had different account managers, different strategies, negatives added, and when a new kind of account manager comes or something new is then implemented, it can quite often be the case that something that used to be irrelevant no longer is, even if a company, for example, develops a new product or service that you now want to target, but previously didn't have. So previously it was excluded from the account. Worth going through what is there every now and again and making sure nothing is limiting your performance this way. So you can open your campaign view, all campaigns, find the negative keywords link on the left here, and then you can see all of the lists that are in use, everything in ad group levels, everything in campaign level, what has been added everywhere. So just scrolling through and making sure nothing is blocking anything relevant from coming up. Next quick check regarding RSAs, so responsive search ads. As mentioned before, usually makes sense in B2B scenarios where we don't have tons of volumes to have one RSA per ad group. Also considering, are all relevant ad copy parts used? And what I mean by this is a template that we use in Holini, for example. An ad could ideally include something about your brand, some social proof, some call to actions, some maybe features, benefits, advantages over competitors, and something like keyword or theme focused that the ad group where the ad lives is created for. So this is an easy way to kind of make sure when coming up with ad copy that you have all of these included to kind of set you up for maximum potential success. And then in our template, we also have this kind of opportunity just to get like a visual good representation of the different potential combinations. You can also kind of see, okay, what have you pinned, work with the different combos here. And again, if you start with a fully pinned framework that I mentioned earlier, this is like a good, let's say, tool to play around with before putting anything live. So just considering that your ad consists of everything that it should consist of, that all potential benefits are taken advantage of. Also, a quick check that sometimes might have some surprises is checking the actual top combinations that have been shown from your RSAs. So if you have added 15 headlines for descriptions, nothing is pinned, it's quite tricky to kind of in your head think of all the combinations that can happen. So if you open up your ad view and click this view asset details and then find the combinations tab, you can see the top combinations in that last 90 days, how much each combination was shown and which headlines were combined together and how. And when auditing accounts, quite often I've actually seen what happens is that kind of unnecessary duplication is going on. So because the account manager has gone in and tried to add as many headline variations as possible, which is the recommendation from Google as well, then you sometimes add kind of the same point or the same idea, simply using different phrasing or slightly different words. But if you don't work with that like intentionally or use pinning in a smart way, it can happen that those two same meaning headlines will be shown next to each other. In some cases, it even looks quite like scammy on the search results page, and because it doesn't make sense to a human. Like, why would you write those two same things in a row here? And also, you're not utilizing the potential of giving as much information about your business, your offering, within the anyway limited space that you have with a few headlines and character limits. So just a quick check, you can go and see what's been going on there. Also, quite relevant and quite often things are slightly missed. We see is regarding extensions, what you can do there to kind of make sure you're taking best possible advantage of this feature in Google Ads is, first of all, going and finding them. They are actually called assets now. I'm still kind of getting used to the change. I'm still calling them extensions. I'll catch up soon. So you find the assets and make sure that all of the ones that are even like remotely relevant, make sense for your business, are used. So these are ones that should be mandatory and you should be able to create for any business. Site links, callouts, structured snippets, image extensions, business logo, business name. You can also have your obviously call extensions, promo extensions, price extensions, but those are not relevant for every business. But these should be present in your account. It's good to have variations as well possible. So for site links, it's up to 6 can be shown on desktop and up to 8 on mobile. So if you create 8, you're kind of only working with the, you're not giving Google much room to kind of test different alternative combinations. So ideally, you should have a few more than the maximum that can be displayed. Oftentimes, less are displayed, but it's good to have a little bit more there. Same with callouts and the other ones. So offering some variations as well and making sure that you have taken advantage of these extensions to communicate all of your business benefits, UVPs, features, how you differentiate from competitors. And simply, they help you take up more space on the search results page, so you are more prominent. And in Google's eyes, this increases your ads quality, so you end up paying less for clicks. So again, getting more for the same budget simply by adding extensions and making your ad as informative and high quality as possible. One thing to also quickly check and ask, are there any extensions added on account level? This is a problem if your account has multiple languages in it within different campaigns. So then you can end up seeing Russian extensions in an English campaign, Latvian extensions in a Lithuanian campaign, like a whole mismatch can happen. So if you have multiple languages, make sure you're working with campaign level extensions only, and ad group as well if you want. So the next thing kind of ties to that, having a quick check if extensions are added to correct levels. So the three that are available are account, campaign, and ad group. And the main thing to check here is that does every campaign have extensions added to it? So you're kind of, again, taking full advantage of extensions, and if some campaigns don't, then essentially you're slightly paying more for each click that you get. Also, final thing, are automatically created extensions disabled or at least reviewed? So Google has the kind of option that it creates extensions for you. Sometimes they're not bad at all. I recently just saw quite a lot of site link extensions being created without descriptions. So that is, of course, not ideal. So you don't necessarily need to turn this off, but if you leave it on, at least regularly go and review and see what Google has created and manually edit and adjust them to be kind of to make sense. Google creates them based on your website. So that's where it gets its input from. Another quick thing to check where potentially some quite significant cost savings can be hiding themselves is display opt-in, for example. This is on campaign level settings, making sure that in your search campaigns, you are not showing ads from your search campaigns on display networks. So Google automatically creates ads from your search ads assets and makes them into display ads and shows them. More often than not, this is only a way to waste your budget, get a lot of low quality traffic. So this is something that I can quite confidently say should be turned off. If you want to run display ads, create a display campaign separately. Second thing is search partners. Now here, there is no right or wrong. I cannot say definitely you need to turn this off, but we have seen cases where it has been wasting budget, but not bringing in expected results. So this is something that you should at least evaluate or check every now and again, because sometimes Google can make some changes in its algorithm, and suddenly search partners can start racking up those impressions and clicks and cost. So you can see what has been going on by going to campaign level report, adding a segment called network with search partners. And what you then see, you can see it on campaign level, but here is a screenshot from having scrolled down to the account level summary row, is that, for example, 1,400 euros out of 6,000 was spent on search partners. The conversion rate was obviously quite poor. CPA was very high, and the quality of those conversions that came from there is another question entirely. So in most cases, the volume coming up from search partners is rather small, but we have seen cases where it has been an issue. So definitely worth at least checking and reviewing. Turning off if it is not working for you. Next one. I see we have reached 1 hour, so I'll be quick, won't be too long. If someone has to pop away, that's absolutely fine. You'll get the recording. We're very, very close to the end already. So are relevant observational audiences used? What I mean by this is first-party audiences, the data that you have about your users, your customers. Are you using that in the account? So you can add it, upload lists, either remarketing lists or customer lists of your actual customers into the account. And those are very, very, very valuable extra signals for Google's bidding algorithms to make more optimal, better decisions quicker, because you are giving it some extra information. Otherwise, Google has to learn from scratch about everything. But if it already can see what kind of, let's say, profile your paying customers, for example, have, it can more easily bring you more of them. So definitely go and check if observational audiences are used. And also make sure that you have set or turned on this customer match setting so that the audiences that have been added to your account can be accessed by smart bidding. So this can be found under account settings, and then scrolling down this customer match section there and making sure this is ticked and turned on. Another thing to consider with these audiences is that you should also think about who you can exclude to help smart bidding and making better decisions. So perhaps it makes sense for you to exclude people who are already your customers. So you don't want them to see your ads again if they are already paying you. And maybe some other, not necessarily remarketing or customer list audiences, but if you are working with limited budgets and smaller volumes, aiding the learning by excluding students or other audiences that are clearly not in your target ideal target audience. And then final point, I believe it is taking a look at display placements. So our experience is that in B2B tech SaaS accounts, the majority of effort and budgets and everything goes into search. But if you are running display, it is worth doing this quick little check. So disclaimer here, if you're optimizing towards paying customers and you're getting those from display, absolutely great news. You're one of the lucky chosen ones. Please continue. But more often than not, it is not paying customers that is being optimized towards. It's maybe leads or free trial requests or something like that. In that case, it's worth checking the display placements that have occurred, even the ones that have brought conversions, which you kind of with instinct would consider, okay, that's great, that brought me something. But if you ask the question, would your customers realistically visit this site or this app where this conversion, this free trial request, for example, came from? If the answer is no, then perhaps you're struggling a little bit with a bot traffic or traffic quality problem. So bots are quite good already at filling in forms. So if you are not using reCAPTCHA, then you are very likely facing this. Even Google recommends not to run display campaigns without having reCAPTCHA enabled on your website. So quick check to go and look at. So finding content, and under that where ads showed, you will see all of the sites and mobile apps where your display ad was displayed, and then seeing, okay, does that make sense what you are seeing there? Or is it really good quality conversions? Are you happy with it? Or is there an issue that lies there? And one of the things to kind of consider here is even if your main focus is not on display and you think this might not be too important, even if you are getting low quality conversions, it actually has also an effect on the account-wide learnings of the algorithms, bidding algorithms. So it can more increasingly over time, as more and more of those come in, start affecting the lead quality in search campaigns as well. So the more you have bad quality traffic considered as conversions, the more Google will end up bringing them, and over time your end business results will suffer and decline. So key takeaways. My colleague Andres had a nice thought how to summarize today's conversation, because I think all of the kind of slides or topics could be listed as key takeaways to go and quickly check. But just rather a summarizing thought is that Google Ads boils down to essentially two things. So that's targeting and creatives. And if you're making sure your data is correct, precise, you're tracking relevant things, you're tracking them correctly, you have excluded irrelevant audiences, everything, you are working with relevant keywords, you have enough of them in your account. And on the creative side, you are making sure your ads and extensions are set up in the optimal way. You're taking advantage of the different opportunities that are presented to you. So, for example, having all possible extensions added. the copy in them is relevant, conveys your brand message nicely, you should be set up nicely for success. And another thing, if Google Ads is a key channel for your business, we really strongly believe that it would be beneficial to audit your account at least once a year. We do that more often internally for all of our accounts as well. Google Ads as a platform changes so rapidly. Different strategies occur. Some things are kind of left behind, forgotten in the account. So this is definitely a worthwhile either time or monetary investment that we have seen always work out great. So we, for example, have not had an audit that we do externally to an external account where we have not been able to uncover at least 10% cost efficiency. Usually it's more around 20 or 30 or some cases, depending on the state of the account, even more. So naturally, this kind of audit is a good practice that will pay for itself if you find those cost savings, make those adjustments, and going forward, you're constantly saving, let's say, 10% of your budget every month at least. So thank you for everyone who listened, who survived this hour and a few minutes. And I will come and check the chat, see what's going on, and address some questions. So, oops, don't want to stop the recording just yet. Let's see. Some AI bots taking notes here. Very good. People fully taking advantage of AI capabilities. What would be the bidding strategy you would choose if there are around 4 conversions per month? So yeah, very common situation. I'm guessing you are thinking of like the 4 conversions are the actual paying end goal customers revenue that you are getting. So in this case, we would have to kind of first not even think so much about bid strategy, but think about, do we need to go higher up in the funnel as discussed? Are there any steps that the user takes before converting that is already quite a good signal about their quality or conversion likelihood? And optimizing towards those, or optimizing towards the final conversion and the higher up step, and then having different values assigned. So that is something to kind of do first. Map out the funnel, essentially, understand the different steps and which one would be the optimal one to optimize towards. How much is enough data to confidently start unpinning? Unfortunately, Google Ads is so not black and white that this does depend. It is tricky for me to give a good solid answer. The different indications from Google have been along the lines of, as I mentioned, having at least 3,000 impressions during 7 days on an ad group level. So that's one number you can keep in mind. Another Google support material had that in order to receive a rating for a specific asset in the responsive search ad, so for one specific headline or description, that asset would need to have at least 2,000 impressions in the last 30 days. Another source, again, Google's own source, don't know which one is unupdated, said the number was 5,000 impressions. So volumes are quite big. At some point, like a couple hundred, just thinking from this way, if you have a couple hundred impressions, even manually, you cannot really make any decisions, because your conversion rate, let's say, to your final end goal or whatever conversion action that you are using, maybe ranges from, let's say, 1% to 10% if you're lucky. So if you have only 100 impressions and there either is a conversion or isn't a conversion, there's statistical fluctuations happening as well. A little bit kind of gut feeling involved in making that decision, while also keeping those numbers in mind that I mentioned. So at least like thousands impressions, I would say. Can it be that my Google Ads profile does not show all the options that I have in my profile? I am not a lucky chosen one in terms of settings. Google Ads has two views. One is I believe it's called expert view, and the other is like a simple standard view, something like that. So you should be able to switch that if you go on the top right corner. Maybe it's under tools and settings. Don't have an account open right now. So if you did not see all of the settings that I showed you, then likely you are working with a simplified version of Google Ads, where indeed there are less options available. If you still struggle, send me a message later and I'll help you find it. Offline conversion tracking via CRM integration versus enhanced conversion for leads via Google Tag from account settings. Are they actually the same? No. Davi has raised a hand. He is our analytics guy extraordinaire, and I would be happy to have him help with the answer here. Go ahead.
Yes, so basically, yes, there are both methods that can be used. We are using the cheese lead or Google Click ID import method mostly, and we are using enhanced conversions on top of it as well, quite frequently, depending on the account, but quite frequently. And in order to avoid duplications in conversion tracking, we can include order ID as well when we send either the cheese lead value or email or phone number back to Google Ads, basically. So there are both methods available. Probably what we have heard is that maybe cheese lead will go away in the future as well. So this might happen in the future. We don't know 100%, but this might happen. And also another thing is what also to remember is that when you only use those lead email import, basically, then not all emails are Google emails. So the match rate might be like less compared to the cheese lead import, basically. So keep this also in mind, that Google is not able to match random emails, only Google emails. So yeah, hopefully this answers the question.
Mm-hmm. All of these tracking setup technical details usually require quite a significantly longer discussion. So definitely worth looking into separately from today. From your experience, is there any strong use case for performance max campaigns in B2B? My personal experience is that the B2B accounts that we have in varying sizes are heavily search campaigns oriented, let's say, or using search campaigns. Performance max, we are using it in several accounts. There simply are, again, things that you need to keep in mind. For example, that it's not simply bringing you brand search traffic, which makes the results look really, really nice and good, or that it's essentially just bringing you very bottom funnel remarketing traffic, again, making results look good. So it's hard to say, to give like a general overall answer here. We haven't found a way to make it work better than search for B2B. So our heavier focus is still on search, but we do have it running in multiple accounts. And I see Maida already corrected me here that it is called Smart View. Smart View is, I believe, the kind of simplified version, right? I haven't had to deal with the switching. So yeah, if you're not seeing all of the settings available, there are two kind of versions for Google Ads, and you can switch between them. Either I can help after when I can quickly Google the right terms, or you can try Googling as well. Use Google Analytics for conversions and import them into Google Ads, or use Google Ads build. I'm guessing you mean Google Ads conversion tracking. We prefer using Google Ads conversion tracking because there are differences in attribution between Analytics and Google Ads, so how they attribute the conversion, and you will have more conversion data available if you use Google Ads conversion tracking, is the short answer. The difference comes from Analytics using last click attribution. So a conversion is attributed to Google Ads only if Google Ads was the last click before the conversion happened. And then the data moves into Google Ads platform, and it is determined, okay, which campaign, which keyword, which ad brought the conversion. Whereas Google Ads determines that, okay, I, as Google Ads channel, brought the conversion if during the conversion window that has been set, there was a Google Ads touch point in the kind of conversion journey. So even if it wasn't the last click, which this whole attribution topic, in my eyes, continues to be one of the biggest unsolved topics in marketing in general. I am not sure it will ever fully adequately be solved, because how can you 100% adequately determine which touch point had how strong of an effect? But people are working very hard to make it as close to ideal, these attribution models. Another question came in. Is it possible that purchases are not being tracked via GTM, but in GA4 they come in under direct traffic source? Darby, I'm going to let you answer this as well. I would say there's all kinds of errors are possible.
Yes, I would say that we are planning to have a separate workshop related to analytics as well. Hopefully this year, maybe at the beginning of the beginning of next year. Don't know yet exactly when we're gonna do it, but
it's coming.
Honest, yes, it's coming. But to be honest, I don't really get the question at the moment. So if you're seeing purchases under direct in GA4, then there can be so many different reasons, to be honest. So I would recommend Googling this, and you will probably find 25 different reasons that might be behind it. So, but if you're not seeing them at all, then probably you're not sending the data to Google Analytics at all. So, but yeah, bringing out all the reasons, it's a really long list, to be honest. So I would recommend Googling, and you will find it probably quite easily.
Yeah. Okay. If there is nothing else that someone wishes to discuss today, just again, session was recorded. You will receive the recording. It will likely reach your inbox at the beginning of next week, and also the slides as well. So then you will have an easy kind of guide to keep next to you when checking your account. I thank you very, very much for staying here, for listening, and I really hope you were able to capture something valuable, and your accounts will be seeing cost efficiency improvements very soon. If you remember some questions that you would still like to discuss, my email is available to you guys. I promise I will reply. Maybe not in 1 hour or 24 hours if I'm having an overwhelmed time, but I promise I will get back to you with the best of my capabilities and knowledge. Okay, let's wrap it up and see you during one of our next seminars soon. Have a good day. Bye bye.